Hello. So, for this week's vlog, we are going to be reading arcs, e-arcs. The first one is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. This is coming out January 27th. I just received this 2 days ago, and I'm set to post my reviews on January 27th, which is the day of the release. If I'm remembering that correctly, either January 27th or January 28th. I'm gonna check. Sorry, I forgot. Anyway, started reading this before I went to bed, and I am in chapter 7, so I'm only 10% of the way in. I'm really enjoying it. Much like the first 2 books in this series, it's a very, very readable book. Just pulls you in. You just can't stop reading. It's that kind of book. I really like the banter so far, and I can definitely feel that chemistry between Jules and Josh. They both have Jace, so I'm a little confused by it. But Jules and Josh, chemistry, amazing. This is enemies with benefits, 2 lovers, obviously. So very excited. So my goal is to finish this today, and I'm pretty positive that I will. I'm 50% through Twisted Hate, and I don't know what else is going to happen. Like, it's a lot of things, okay? But I feel like at this point in the story, it should be 65% already, but I'm only like 57% of the way through. I feel like it should be 65 to 70%, so I don't know what else is going to happen. There's already a lot has happened in the first 50% of the book, so I'm a little scared. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be back. Well, I finished Twisted Hate a few minutes ago, and I don't know why my eyes are swollen. I don't know. Well, I'm sick, so everything's just going wrong. Anyway. Finished it. Oh my god. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, first of all, I probably would rate this in a 4.5. Okay, there are very minute things that I didn't like. Everything else was great. Everything else was amazing. Just, I feel like it's more of my personal kind of thing. Probably would change my mind after a few days of letting it sink in, but right now it's a 4.5 for me. That's really great. And I think I rated the same thing to Twisted Games, 4.5, and I think Twisted Love is like a 4. Each of the books are just getting better and better and better. I'm just gonna tell you that. So the spice is amazing. It did take me aback because of the kind of spice. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very rough. Okay, it was a lot for me, but it's very good. Spice is 10 out of 10, really good. There were certain parts that involved the spice that I wasn't a big fan of, but I feel like that's also some kind of very subjective. That's just for me. But overall, like, the actual like spice scenes are great. Josh as the love interest, as our main character, our guy main character. Listen, we didn't really get much of Josh in the first and the second books because, you know, we don't really get any of the characters outside of like our main couple, except for like the girls. I feel like we got enough of the girls throughout the different series just because we're following the 4 girls, and so we get more of them versus their love interests. So I really like Josh. I like him a lot. There were quite a few moments in this book where I wish I had my own Josh. Pretty much. Listen, I don't know if I can show you somewhere here, like my notes on my Kindle while I was like highlighting stuff. Great, I'm definitely buying this special edition one. It comes out the same day as the regular edition, which is on January 27th. So I will be pre-ordering that if it is available on the author's Etsy shop, because if I ordered it, it's gonna be signed. So the whole plot was, I would say, an 8.5 because there is plot, obviously. There were just certain aspects of the plot that I didn't like. Parts of the plot, if it happened the way I wanted it to, there probably wouldn't be like that final conflict for our 2 main characters. But aside from that, like the chemistry, the romance is believable 100%. I really enjoyed Twisted Hate. I love it so much. No, I really love it so much. I enjoyed so much reading it, and I had a few moments where I was just like, god damn it, like when is it my turn? You know, kind of thing. That is it for the first arc for this video. The next one that I'll be reading is League of Liars by Astrid Schultz. This is from Penguin Teen. This is a YA fantasy as well. So it's a fantasy thriller in which 4 teens caught on the wrong side of using magic must band together for the ultimate jailbreak. Perfect for fans of Six of Crows and How to Get Away with Murder. I mean, I requested this through Penguin Teen, and this is one of my top anticipated books of February of 2022. And I know that she's the author of The 4 Dead Queens, although I know a lot of people like it. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, so it's never been like top in my radar anyway. But this one really sounds interesting. Hello, so I'm 110 pages into League of Liars, and so far it's been very readable. It's quite interesting, and we are slowly starting getting to know our prisoners, because the basic premise of this is that there's going to be like 4 teenagers for a jailbreak, right? One of them is not, I think, going to be in the prison, and we've so far only met 2 that are going to be in prison. So 𝐀𝐟 has always believed, ever since his mother died, that illegal magic users should be brought to justice. And this magic is seen as a dark magic. It appeared in their country one day, and they slowly discovered that it can manipulate time, but with heavy consequences. So he apprentices under one of the best public defenders, because he's studying to be a lawyer, I think. So some kind of a lawyer in this world. And so he apprentices, and he meets these criminals and learns their stories, and discovers that there's more to it than just the right and wrong, and more to the magic, probably. And it's very interesting so far, because the ___ comes from that tear that suddenly appeared in their country. Some believe it to be like a veil into another dimension. We're still getting to know the characters yet. I don't think we've met the third person that is in this prison. It's going to be part of the 4 group that are going to commit a jailbreak. Very interesting, very readable. That's it for right now. I will update you guys once I get a little more than halfway through, or if something interesting happens. We're about to get introduced to the 4th person in this jailbreak, and it's an interesting character. I was shook when I heard who the character is going to be. So I'm stopping at page 140 because I need to sleep. I do want to continue it, but I'll continue it tomorrow. But so far, it's very intriguing. You can definitely tell that the stories that these characters have in terms of why they're in prison are a lot more complicated and a lot more layered, and it feels like it's kind of connected, or it could be connected. It's very interesting because it's not straightforward. You can tell that there is a lot more to their stories than they are telling or than we are seeing, and that there might be connections, but it's not just in your face. I don't have any idea how it could, work together. And so it's very interesting. It's very, very intriguing. It's setting up to be a very interesting ride. So really excited to see how the story will unfold, and getting to know more of our characters, and seeing where their stories go and connect and overlap, all that. But again, not heavy-handed, but you can tell that there's something there. There's a lot more. It's so interesting. So the title, by the way, I just realized when I was posting my update on Instagram. League of Liars. See now, because right now they're all lying. They're all hiding something. It's it's not very straightforward. I feel like they're lies. So there's a reason why they're lying. There's a background to their lies, to there's a backstory to their lies, and it's very interesting. So really enjoying myself so far. So I am 248 pages into League of Liars, and I'm really enjoying it so far. We are not yet into the jailbreak yet, and we're, I don't know, a little over halfway through. But I'm really enjoying it because now we're doing trials. So we're in court now, and I've always been fascinated about, trial proceedings, court proceedings, because, with the prosecutor and the lawyers questioning witness statements, presenting evidences, it's so interesting to me how they get to whatever it is that they want out of either discrediting a witness or presenting evidence, and kind of spinning the story to where they want it. It's very interesting. It's very fun. I feel like it's also really well done. I'm not well versed in it. I didn't study law. I haven't really seen a lot of movies or shows with mainly court trial proceedings, nor have I ever seen a court or trial proceedings not a lot in real life, but I feel like it's really well done. I'm really, really enjoying it. There's a tendency for it to fall flat and feel like it didn't give that tension, or it just didn't work. The different feelings that you could have on, especially if you're on one side of the trial proceedings, the excitement or the nervousness, the tenseness of being there. I feel like it really worked. It really works for here. I'm really, really enjoying reading where I am right now. So that's my update so far. Again, we are not even close to the jailbreak yet, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Alright, so I finished League of Liars, and I would say the last 3/4 of it is the heist, or the jailbreak, and I feel like it shouldn't have been included in the premise because it's spoilery. So I think it would have been better if the jailbreak wasn't mentioned at all, and it was just implied that they were going to do something. But that last 3/4 was a bit too fast for me, because we had a really good pacing for the first 3/4. The first 3/4 of the book was really nicely paced. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. It's slowly building up. We're getting to learn the world, the characters. The last 1/4, especially because they're doing a jailbreak, it just felt like it was too fast, and the whole planning aspect of it. The readers are not privy to the planning aspect of it, but I felt like there wasn't much actually planned. It's not as compelling to read because it's not very logical. It's not well thought out, it's not well planned, I think. Even though I'm witnessing it as it unfolds. I mean, that has still happened, but I've read that before, like me learning the plan as I read it and not being privy to the entire plan, and that worked. But in this case, it didn't because it all happened in the last quarter of the book. And so it just felt all too fast, feel like it was well thought out, even though it's supposed to be, like, especially when you're breaking out 4 different people. And this was still a lot of fun to read though, and I am interested in learning what is going to happen next because of that reveal at the end, and you know, all the reveals at the end. There was a few surprising reveals that I really enjoyed. The next one that I'm going to read is The Dark Queens by Shelley Puhak. What it's about, because this is the one that I requested over on NotGalley. The Dark Queen, the bloody rivalry that forged the medieval world. This one is also coming out February 22nd, just like League of Liars. So it says, the remarkable little-known story of 2 trailblazing women in the early Middle Ages who wielded immense power only to be vilified for daring to rule. Brunhild was a Spanish princess, raised to be married off for the sake of alliance building. Her sister-in-law, Fredegund, started out as a lowly palace slave, and yet in the 6th century Merovingian Empire, women were excluded from noble succession and royal politics as a blood sport. These 2 iron-willed strategists reigned over vast realms for decades, changing the face of Europe. The 2 queens commanded armies and negotiated with kings and popes. They formed coalitions and broke them, mothered children and lost them. They fought a years-long civil war against each other. With ingenuity and skill, they battled to stay alive in the game of statescraft, and the process laid the foundation of what would one day be Charlemagne's empire. Yet after Brunhild and Fredegund's deaths, one gentle, the other horrific, their stories were rewritten, their names consigned to slander and legend. In The Dark Queens, award-winning writer Shelley Puhak sets the record straight. She resurrects the 2 very real women in all their complexity, painting a richly detailed portrait of an unfamiliar time and striking at the roots of some of our culture's stubbornest myths about female power. The Dark Queens offer proof that the relationship between women can transform the world. Interesting, right? This really caught my attention because, one, the cover and the premise. This only has 34 ratings, but the ratings are the average rating is 4.5, which is fun. So I'm very, very excited about this one. It's non-fiction for sure. I'm gonna be reading this and hopefully I will like it. We'll see. I forgot to mention that League of Liars seems like it will include a lot of illustrations, because in the arc there are like empty spaces for, like, I feel like the art part. So unfortunately it wasn't on the arc. It would be fun to see those illustrations, especially I feel like because it'll be like in the style of one of the characters' drawings, because that character is described to be very good at sketching. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, again, I'm very excited for The Dark Queens. I like open it, and I'm currently reading the author's note, and I was reading like some of the blurbs. There's just a lot of really great things about this book, and I'm looking forward to it. Hello. So not much of an update right now. I thought that this would read as a fiction. That's just my like own personal expectation. It didn't come from anywhere. So it doesn't really read like a textbook. It's more like somebody's telling you what happened. There are no dialogues. There is quite a bit of humor in here, but one thing that I noticed is the author loves the word barbarian. Like, I feel like especially it was just that one page, I feel like she used barbarian 10 times in like 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs or so. I was like, she keeps using this word. Why does she keep using this word? Yeah, I just picked that up because I was like, I've been seeing this word ever since I started reading. Also, I didn't read an arc earlier, but I finished the first volume of the book The Savior's Book Café in Another World. It's a manga, and it's so cute. It's so cute. It's one of those isekai manhwas that are a little bit more different because the main character is 30 years old, and before she isekai'd to the world, she first has a conversation with a god that isekai'd her to the world, and she was like, I don't want to. At first she was like, I don't want to. I'm 30 years old. I'm content with what I have, what I'm doing right now. I don't really want to go to a different world. And the god like convinces her, and eventually she goes to this world, and she's like, I don't want to be out there, fighting monsters, whatever, or like being part of political machinations, whatever. I just want to run a book cafe. Is that possible? And it was possible. And so she runs this book cafe, and she one day meets the I think the captain of the knights is a big bookworm, and he keeps going back to that cafe, and it's really cute. There is a bit of action in here, and I love our characters. Although I did think that the romance was a bit too fast, because I think so far there are only 3 volumes out. Well, 3 volumes are going to be released. The first volume is already out. The second volume will be released in a few months, and then the third volume a few months after that. So within this year. So really enjoying it so far. So I just picked it up and tried to see, because there's like what, 5 chapters for the first volume, so I like finished it super quickly. So finished that one, and I'm currently reading The Dark Queens. I might have to pick up like a different arc so that I can read it while I'm reading this one too, because this one is a bit too, dense to read in one go. We'll see. But so far, I think I've gotten kind of used to the format and the writing style, and it's a lot easier for me to like stay and keep reading the book. So that's an update for right now. Not much of an update, but I decided to pick up another book while I'm reading the other one. I'm not DNFing it. I just want to have like something else to read with it, because it's a bit too dense for me. So I decided to pick up A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This one is coming out February 15. This is a spoiler, by the way, for you guys who follow me with my unboxings of book boxes. This is gonna be a book box book, or one of the boxes that I'm unboxing next month. Only a few pages in, probably like 20 or 30 pages. 30 pages exactly. And I like it so far. It's very atmospheric. I think it's set in Scotland, following a main character who goes back to this island where he grew up, where he was born, because there was a string of girls who went missing, and one of the lairds, I don't know how to say that word, but that's like, I think similar to the word lord, or like the usage of it, asks him to come back to help them with figuring this out. I don't know how he's supposed to help, but because he's a bard, like he plays the harp, I think. That's why the cover is his harp right there. It actually sounds very interesting. I asked for this on NetGalley. I didn't think I would be approved, but here we are. The Dark Queen so far, again, it's kind of the same. I think it's starting to get interesting because now we're getting introduced to the second character a little bit more, or like one of our main characters a little bit more. It's an adult fantasy. I thought it was white. So it's first an adult fantasy, I think duology, set on the magical Isle of Cadence, where 2 childhood enemies must team up to discover where girls are going missing from their clan. See, it's very interesting. And again, so far it's proving to be very atmospheric. So I'm enjoying it so far. I'm gonna read a little bit more from each of the books and then update you guys at the end of the day. Also, about my COVID, I don't know if I talked about this earlier. I was telling my brother what like my symptoms are so far, and I told him that I couldn't taste or smell anything, and he said, oh, you probably don't have Omicron, because Omicron symptoms don't include loss of taste or smell. It's only Delta and the previous version, so he thinks that it might be Delta, but it's definitely not Omicron, which I kind of already thought, because I felt like from what I've been hearing, Omicron is so much easier to kind of get over. Like, it's very fast. It's a lot more infectious than the other variants, but it mimics more of the usual like flu symptoms, which is like fever, cough, colds, and maybe some body aches, but that's it. It's taking me a while. I still can't taste or smell anything, and tomorrow's my 10th day, and I'm still a little bit congested. So yeah, and I tested positive yesterday still. So that I said for right now. Hello, bit of an update, more so on the Dark Queens. I just realized, because I got the chapter 2. Chapter 1 is 100 pages. I didn't even realize it. I was just like reading it, but that's way too long. Also, I mentioned that we were finally like meeting and getting to know the 2, Dark Queens, but I feel like at this point in the story, I thought, well, at least at like the 70-page point, we have like the background and the situation already settled. And so I thought we would have more like focus on the 2 queens that we have. So, we will now be kind of following the story from their perspective, or like a third-person perspective with them as the main like person that we're following. And it's still not. And it's like, I'm interested in these 2 characters. It's the reason why I'm reading it. I don't want to follow these other characters that I understand is very important, but I feel like it would have been a lot more enjoyable for me if we're following mainly what the 2 characters, what's happening around them, kind of mentioning just in general what the situation is that they're currently, like the world that they're moving around. And there's a lot of different names, a lot of different characters. Some of them have very similar names, some of them. I'm kind of forgetting who's who and who's doing what, and I don't know, I wish we kind of focus more on them, because so far they kind of just mentioned a few times and we're mainly focusing on like the war and the basically like the brothers that they're kind of married to. It's like I'm reading it for them, so I don't know. I'm 100 pages into this book and it's very heavy. I mean, I understand a part of it I'm struggling is because I don't really know the story, and I have read like the background, so I kind of have an idea of where the story is gonna go. But I just find that for a novel that is about these two characters, we don't really get much of them, like enough of them for me to think that, oh, it's their story. It's more like, well, this is what happened during this time period with these characters and all that. I don't know. But in terms of A River Enchanted, I'm really enjoying it so far. I really like the fae aspect of it. Very, very atmospheric. Just enjoying it. I'm about, I think, 90 pages of the way through, so I'm reading a little bit of both every day. Yeah, that's it for my update for right now. Hello. I wasn't planning on updating today because, well, I wanted to like finish the book because I feel like I've done a lot of updates for this one. I'm talking about A River Enchanted. I am 220 pages of 360, so I have 140 pages left, and I'm really enjoying this so far. It's, again, I don't want to repeat what I've said before, but what I really like and like really am picking up on is I am a little over halfway through, but the way that the relationships here in the story from the very beginning has been written is so good. Like the depth of the relationships and those quiet, wordless moments between characters, that kind of shows the depth of the relationship, of the way that they feel about each other, the words that they don't utter in between the word they do. So good. I'm really enjoying this book. I did skip the box for next month for Illumicrate, which is gonna be featuring this book, because I wasn't really like into the other items that came with it, and I could have changed it into a book only, but I figured, I could just buy the book myself if at the end of it I do want a copy of it. Right now I do want to keep a copy of it, but we'll see by the end on how it's going to go. This is the first book in a duology again, so again, I'm really enjoying it so far. Oh my god. Hello. I just finished A River Enchanted. I loved it. Oh my god. I was worried that I had really high hopes, but sometimes the ending of a book falls flat, and like the first half was great. But no, this one, it stayed consistent all throughout. So good. The different reveals, the different twists were done very well. And they were heartbreaking. I loved it. Well, I still haven't read The Dark Queens. I'm gonna read it the rest of the night. I think maybe I'll pick up the next one, which is The Paradox Hotel, which is one of my most anticipated books for this year. I was approved for an ARC through NetGalley, so I'm gonna be reading that next in conjunction with The Dark Queens. I loved it. I love The River Enchanted. I would never have picked this up if I didn't know that this was going to be an Illumicrate book. And even though I skipped that month, I was still interested because it is something that when I read like the premise, it was very interesting. I mean, that's why I asked for an ARC, and that's why I bought like a physical copy even before I finished it, because I was just loving it so much. The writing was beautiful, very atmospheric. Writing is like able to capture those quiet moments between characters that really tell you and show you the depth of their relationship. It's just so good. I'm gonna continue reading Dead Queens for tonight, and maybe if I cannot keep reading it until the time I need to go to sleep, I will be picking up The Paradox Hotel. So hello, it's been a while. I'm a third of the way through The Paradox Hotel, and I am liking it, but it can get really confusing because it is a time traveling book and our main character is unstuck, so that means that she's displaced from time. So the explanation for that, from what I remember, time as we know it is three-dimensional, but we only view time in a linear manner, so we only go forward. For unstuck people, they kind of bounce around the three-dimensional like cube of time. So she sees the past and the future sometimes. Physical effects as well of being unstuck, and it gets worse and worse and worse. They do have medicines for it, but they can't ever cure it. It's one of, I feel like, if I remember correctly, it's one of the consequences of time travel, or could be one of the consequences of time travel if done wrong or something like that. Something happens and they become unstuck. So far, a third of the way through, and we're still in the same day. And there are times when she would remember something or like see something that happened in the past. I wouldn't initially know that it was in the past until a certain character, which we know is not present anymore, is there. And it's like, oh, it's happening in the past now. She's kind of an unreliable narrator as well, because she doesn't know if what she's seeing is in the future or not. Or sometimes she sees it so vividly that if it's something that will happen in the future or something that's currently happening like in front of her, unless like there's someone with her who doesn't see it, you know? It's a little bit confusing, but again, I'm really enjoying it so far. But there's a lot of things happening. It's only still one day, and there's still a lot of things that I'm still unsure of, but enjoying it so far. The Dark Queens, I'm a little over halfway through, and this is still the same thing. It's a lot easier to read now. I feel like I've gotten used to the narrative this time, but I'm expecting this book to be mainly following the two characters. And although we get them more especially after like the first I don't know, third of it, like kind of building what is happening, like the current political situation, I still want more of them, because this is the reason why I requested the book, because I wanted to learn about these characters. And yes, we're learning about them, and it's difficult to learn about them when there's not a lot of records about them, and some of the records about them are very biased. Still though, I feel like the focus to be mainly on them and everything that affects them, obviously, with them being like queens and being one of the top power wise. I understand that there's a lot of things that are related to them, but I just feel like we could have been like seeing it from their perspective. I'm liking it so far. I am confused with a lot of things, because historically, you know, I don't know anything about, so like historically I'm like losing information sometimes. So I'm still kind of enjoying it though. I will continue reading it, but it will take me a while to finish it. Hello. So last update for this reading vlog. Finally we reached the end. I finished The Paradox Hotel last night, well, earlier this morning, because I finished it at like 12:30 or something, and I have just finished The Dark Queens. And I have a lot of thought. For one, The Paradox Hotel was very confusing because of our main characters. The same thing. Again, it was a lot of fun. I did like the humor, but I feel like if I reread it again, I feel like I will enjoy it a little bit more, because I know now kind of what happened, mainly real time versus the things that happened or the things that the character was seeing in the past and in the future. But again, I had a lot of fun reading it, but combining it with the Dark Queens wasn't the best idea. For the Dark Queens, it's the same thing. I wish we really did focus on the two queens, because that's what it was about. So this is a narrative nonfiction, so this is still considered nonfiction, and I learned a lot of things. The main idea of this book mainly is to tell the story of Friedgun and Brunhild. Again, I wished it really did focus on those two queens. I understand that there wasn't much in terms of history because they were erased, and there's a lot of really conflicting narratives about them. And similar to The Paradox Hotel, I feel like if I will reread this one, I feel like I will understand and enjoy it and value it a little bit more. But yeah, for now it's okay. I feel like I learned a lot, but at the same time, I feel like I lost a lot of information as well. But yeah, so those are the last two books for this arc reading. They were both okay. Probably rate them both 3 stars, because I feel like, one, it's not for me, both those books, and I feel like, you know, where I am in terms of my reading, it's not a good time for me to have read these 2 books. But yes, so that is it for this vlog. Hopefully this vlog won't be very long, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you on my next one.